willingness to love and to be loved. Sometimes we forget that part. But that's what the truth of our being is. Well, hi there.
Oh my God.
Yay, I'm loved even though I tore up the mic stand. Isn't that fun?
Go away.
I can just hold it, I guess. Well, I will hold it then. Hi. Oh, God, one thing I love is like you never can tell what's going to happen, right? You just never know. I mean, you can have a plan, but, you know, ha, 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 as they say. So, you know, okay, so it's been a while, a couple months maybe since I've seen you. Oh, my God. I've been snowed in on my mountaintop, which I call Glory Land, in Vermont. And even though I couldn't see you, which I really missed, you know, I love coming down here, I really could not get out of the house. Well, because before the winter came, my contractor didn't build the garage, it snowed, and so therefore I was snowed in. And it was snowing from the day after Thanksgiving. Or was that Thanksgiving Day? Steve came up, I think it was the day after Thanksgiving. And it snowed from that day, constantly, without letting up pretty much until last week, something like that. So I had a lot of time to contemplate. And it was actually very, very nice because I felt like I was on spiritual retreat for 2 months, you know? And that was kind of cool. So I was going over a lot of things that inspire me. And some of you haven't met me before and don't know, but my husband of 20 years passed 2 years ago last week. And he was A Course in Miracles genius. You know, like really, that was his jam. He was really something with that. And so we have a Wednesday night group every Wednesday night on the line. And for every time we met, we still do meet, but for every time we meet, Glenn would create a booklet with images and commentary. And so for years and years and years, actually since 2012, he's amassed a huge commentary on A Course in Miracles. So I was going over those commentaries, and in chapter 5, section 3, paragraph 3, verse 5, I found something that really inspired me. So that's the topic today. I trust my brothers and sisters even when I don't like their behavior. All right, so let's just get honest. I'll tell the truth. I don't always like what people do, huh? Anybody else? I mean, you're right. You know, sometimes I feel hurt. Sometimes I feel confused. Sometimes I feel outraged. A whole bunch of feelings. And you know, one thing that I've learned with Glenn's passing, which is a gift, is to embrace these feelings, which is why I always say, welcome, 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 welcome everything that comes into your life. You know, so I got to thinking about, yeah, but I'm this spiritual person. I'm supposed to be a reverend, you know, I'm supposed to be like, you know, showing people the way or whatever, you know, all these ideas that one has about standing in front of people and talking, you know. And I realized that when I like people, it's easy to trust them, right? But when their behavior offends me, ooh, now that really gives me pause, as they say, right? But that is spiritual practice. That's a radical spiritual practice, actually. So I I read also this quote from Regina Dawn Akers, which says, remember yourself, capital S. Stay true to your heart and that which you truly want. Your brother is yourself and your path of true forgiveness. Now, I know, we've given lip service to forgiveness, or I'll speak for myself. I've given lip service to forgiveness over the years and blah, blah, blah and everything. But somehow over these past 2 years, it's become a real practice for me, a real daily practice. Because I find one of the legacies that my mother gave me was to fear everything. I'm not blaming her or shaming her for that. It's just been something that I've picked up. And actually, I'm now seeing it as a gift because it's been one of my greatest stumbling blocks. And in embracing my fear, I realized that I had a real fear of forgiveness. I was like, what does it even mean? And so I began to understand that for me, it's giving for someone, right? So that someone can be me, but I'm giving. When I'm forgiving, I'm giving. I'm giving for your benefit, I'm giving for my benefit, I'm giving for the world's benefit, right? So if I hold on to being offended and blah, 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 da, 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 that does not help anyone, doesn't help me, doesn't help them, doesn't help the world that we all want, What do we really truly want here, right? As spiritual students and all of that kind of thing, that was my next piece, because what is it that we really truly want? And I mean, this may sound very Dawn of the Age of Aquarius to y'all, but I do want peace for all beings. Like, I really do, How does that happen? How in the world does that happen? Well, of course, it has to start with me, and I have to examine what am I trying to do with this argument, or with this argument in my head, even? Am I trying to win something? Am I trying to dominate? Am I trying to be right about everything? Yes. I have a real tendency to want to be right about everything. But beyond that, I want freedom for the whole, not just for myself, but for everyone. So that has to include the ones whose behavior I don't like, right? It's really easy for me to be on spiritual, sanctuary up in my house in the snow with my 2 wonderful cats. Oh my God, I could just be there forever. And I love being there. So when I step out of the house finally and dig myself out of the snow and get on the highway, oh my God, all these tailgaters, all this stuff, like what's going on, And I have a lot of thoughts about that. So this is where my forgiveness begins, right? So this section in Course in Miracles that I was mentioning earlier tells us that there are 2 diametrically opposed ways of seeing our brother. We can see through ego, of course, or we can see through the Holy Spirit. And of course, we sort of know that, we talk about that and teach that. But here's what got me. What you acknowledge in your brother, you are acknowledging in yourself. And what you share, you strengthen. So we're all teachers of God. All of us. Every single one of us. We're all teaching something. Whether it's, whatever it is. Whatever it is. When I first came to Unity, we would do the blessing, divine love flowing through me, blesses and increases all that I give, all that I have, all that I receive. I love that prayer. At some point, I realized that it also blesses, it's not just the positive things that it blesses and increases. If your mind is stuck in some kind of unforgiveness or offense or holding on to something or someone's behavior or something like that you don't really like, that increases also, and that is also love. Now that's kind of mind-boggling because for me and my upbringing and the way we make clear distinctions, love looks this way and hate looks that way. Well, my beloved Glenn reflected on this passage and wrote, "Listening and acting on what is true is a healing action. How we treat others tells us how we think about ourselves." And then he has a question for us. What do you project on others? What do you project on others? Well, lately, actually, it's been loneliness and grief. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad about me or anything. I'm just saying that's what I'm dealing with. Loneliness, grief. And sometimes I'm just looking for someone to blame. So, I don't know, an instance happened at the dry cleaners of all places, right? So, I'm just thinking that, okay, I live in this really small town and there's no, it's not like living around here in New York or anything like that because nothing is convenient. You have to get in the car, and where I live, you have to get in the car and at least drive 30 minutes to get to the grocery store, So a dry cleaner is way out of the scene, it's just, they're just not there. So I go to find a dry cleaner. I go to this dry cleaner. Everything's going fine. And then she says, "Oh, you're a new customer. I've never seen you before." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "You have to fill out this form." She pulls out this form for me to fill out. And I'm like, "I'm just dropping off clothes." I mean, really? And she goes, "Well, you can leave if you want to." I'm like, where am I going to go? So they kind of have you, they gotcha, So, I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't anything horrible. It was just this long tirade on if I mess up your clothes, you can't sue me, And so I was like, okay. Does that mean, you don't have confidence in your dry cleaning service? Oh, no. It's just my boss, So what I realized then was that she was afraid of her boss. And it clicked, but my ire was evoked, I'm offended because you're asking me to fill out this form. And I'm just trying to drop off clothes. So anyway, finally, as we're talking and I'm beginning to get I realized that she's afraid of her boss. So it's oh, okay, I'll sign it. No problem. See you later. Come back, everything's fine, right? But it was so interesting to me how quickly it was for me to get offended. Just popping up there. So what do I project on others? I was projecting on her my loneliness and grief, and I want to fight with somebody about it. I want somebody to blame. I wanted to, But that really landed deeply for me. And of course, when I look at the news with the ego, I see threat and separation. But you know what? I've developed a practice of what we call, we don't do it, we did it for 40 days, but a little group that we called looking at the news with healing, not hate. And that was so helpful. And where that led me was, with all of these, inspirational messages I've been reading, what that led me to was I don't trust everyone to behave well, but I do trust the oneness. You see the distinction I'm making here? Okay, so behavior is behavior, and sometimes it can be awful. But you know what I really drove home for me was that I don't know what anything is for, obviously. And so how can I know what another's actions play in the wholeness? How do I know that? I don't. And so this is what was so cool to me. If the oneness, all that is, can hold all wars, all kindness, all confusion, all brilliance, and not dissolve, then it's trustworthy. That is amazing. Well, you think of the history of the world and blah, 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 and all the wars that we've had and all this, horrible things and blah, blah, blah. Jesus lived in a time that was also horrible and blah, 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 blah. But it didn't kill God. It did not dissolve the oneness. And for some reason, that just made all the difference to me, because if the oneness cannot be destroyed, then no individual choice can destroy it. It means I refuse to believe that the ego has ultimate power. I refuse to believe that. The oneness is all that is. It includes people I don't understand, I don't agree with, and I struggle to like. And if they are included in the oneness, they are included in myself. My brother is myself. My sister is myself. The oneness is myself. And in that remembrance, I can let go. So I'm going to sing another song for you, but I want to end this with a little prayer. Spirit, today, may we trust the wholeness more than we trust our judgments. May we see the Holy Spirit, the light in our brother's mind, even when they're saying or behaving in ways that we don't like. And I can recognize that same light in me. Spirit, may we remember ourself, capital S, and in that remembering, extend freedom to all beings. How do I liberate others? By liberating myself. Blessed be.